Hi, so I'm going to do a quick review of the Samsung K8500 4K Blu-ray player. It's over there on my rack on the top. It's just replaced my Oppo BDP93, which was my second Oppo player. I had the 83 before it. Best Blu-ray player you can buy, I think, on the planet. I'm waiting for them to release a 4K player, but this has been pretty good. Had a couple of issues with certain discs, two in particular, Mad Max Fury Road and The Kingsman, as far as freezing or stuttering. And with Mad Max, when I switched the TV settings to UHD color on, two things happened. One, it toned down the colors because I think they were coming out as sort of oversaturated. Everything looked kind of orangey red and a little bit too much so. When I put the UHD color on, which to my understanding from reading forums and the Samsung site, is what you're actually supposed to have activated if you're using a 4K source. It really toned the colors down and made everything look a little bit more realistic, and it got rid of the issue. I had it on for the Kingsman as well, but I also found that happened. It happened twice, and then I was sort of finished the movie, jumped ahead, it played fine. Went back and watched those scenes over, and it seemed to correct itself, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. I also noticed that in some movies, Kingsman and San Andreas, when I was looking at the picture, if you look at the bottom part of the image, if there's, say, a shot of a full people's bodies from their heads to their feet, the top part of the image down to about just below their knees was very clear, but their feet, the shoes and everything else seemed kind of blurry in comparison. So I also don't know what that's about. I've fooled around with some of the settings trying to figure that out, but that's, I guess, going to be a work in progress. I don't know if it's the player, if it's the cable, if it's the television, if it's the disc. It's so new, this player, it's going to be a work in progress. And I watched a stream by AVS Forums, and I know some people have had issues with the players, and they've actually suggested people don't buy the players yet because they think it's too early. I'm an early adopter, so I was willing to take the risk. And again, I figure with either updates or some tweaking, I may be able to get rid of it. As an upscaler for regular Blu-rays, it's been okay. I watched Creed earlier today, and it was good. Not as good as my Oppo, in my opinion. But again, that may be just having to play around and find the proper settings. So, I'm going to give you a review of the 4K discs I do have now. Now, I'm reluctant to give anything a 5, just because I think if I'm scoring things out of 5, there's no way to go upwards from this. And since these are early transfers, I will score things out of 5, but just keep in mind that I'm sure as time goes on and there are new transfers out, there are going to be discs that are better than these ones currently. So, here we go. These are the ones I currently own. I'm waiting for Sicario and Life of Pi to show up, and I've pre-ordered Deadpool, and I've watched these so far. Now, San Andreas is a movie I didn't own. I hadn't seen it before. I just finished watching it. I would say out of a transfer, San Andreas is I'd give it a 4. It's not perfect, but it's good. It's very good. The movie itself, it's okay. I mean, you have to sort of turn your brain off and just sort of enjoy it for what it is, and then you'll have fun with it. It's in the vein of any sort of massive destruction picture like 2012 or The Day After Tomorrow. I would say it's a little bit better than both of those films, and I'm a big fan of The Rock, so if you're looking for a good sort of action type film, this will fit the bill for you right now as far as what's available. Independence Day is going to be released, I believe it's end of this month or next month, and it's available for pre-order already. So that might be something else that you want to look at as far as 4K discs are concerned. And The Revenant will be released on April 19th on the 4K discs, March 29th on Blu-ray. Martian This is a movie that I actually own already. I own two copies of it. I own a 2D, 3D Amaray case version, and I also own the 2D, 3D Steelbook of The Martian. Wasn't going to purchase it again, essentially triple dip, but it's just a movie I really, really enjoyed, and I wanted to see it in 4K, and I'm glad I did because the upgrade is it's quite noticeable. The picture quality is spectacular, very, very sharp images. It's also a movie that when you have UHD color off, the color in the sands is very orangey red. In his space outfit, his uniform, or his whatever you call it, you can see like the bands of orange are very, very bright and really stand out. But if you put UHD color on, it tends to tone everything down and make things look more realistic. The sand doesn't have that very orangey red color to it anymore. It looks more like brown dirt with a lot of variations in the browns. And his outfit also tends to get toned down a bit. And I think this is probably more what it was intended to be viewed as. I sometimes turn UHD color on and off just depending on my mood and what I want to see. Sometimes I just want to see those really bright, oversaturated colors, but other times I just want a more realistic look. And so I find in order to get the best of both worlds, I put UHD color on, and then in the player itself, I up the color a couple of notches. The movie is amazing. The transfer is amazing. I would give this a 5 out of 5, and I would definitely say it's worth the purchase if you just bought one of these players. It's probably got a pretty high attach rate anyway. It seems like everybody who's bought a player has The Martian as one of the movies that they own. Kingsman, a movie that I saw in the theater. I didn't like it when I saw it in the theater. When it came to Netflix, I decided to try again. I didn't really like it. I watched about an hour of it, turned it off. Still bought it in 4K because there wasn't a lot of choice initially, and so many people were saying great things about it that I thought maybe I'll just give it another shot. I watched this yesterday, and I've got to say I am now a big fan of this movie. Having seen it now and being able to turn my brain off and not put too much thought into the movie, it was a lot of fun. It's just I took it in the wrong context. I think when I went to see it, I was expecting a James Bond type of serious film. And once I really, realized that it wasn't meant to be that way, and I sort of watched it from that perspective, incredible film. The transfer is spectacular. Again, I mentioned I did have a couple of issues with it that did go away upon a second sort of viewing, but it's an incredible film, and it is beautiful. It is beautiful in 4K. Great colors, very detailed, something that I would really recommend picking up. Spider-Man 2. Movie I hadn't seen, movie I don't own. No offense to people who like this movie, I struggled through it. I thought it was terrible. It's a 4K transfer, but it didn't look nearly as good as The Martian or The Kingsman in my opinion. And, I would give the movie itself out of 5 a 2, but the transfer, I would give it a 3 or a 4, maybe a 4. Yeah, it's decent. X-Men Days of Future Past, another double dip for me. Triple dip. I own the Amaray and I own the Steelbook. This looks good, but it's more in the vein of Spider-Man. It's good, but it's not the top tier of HDR 4K. Movie itself, I would say, is a 4 or a 5. The disc is about a 4, I would give it, for X-Men Days of Future Past. Maybe a 3. Compared to what hopefully is coming down the pipe. Mad Max. I own 2 Best Buy Steelbooks of this movie, and I also have a German 2D, 3D Steelbook. I just love this movie. Transfer-wise, it's breathtaking. Again, with UHD color off, I found a lot of the colors are oversaturated, not just in the sands and everything else, but in the characters. The skins looked a little too reddy orange. And when I put UHD color on, it really toned everything down and made the picture incredibly crisp and detailed. I just kicked up the color in the player a couple of notches. It's a breathtaking transfer. This is definitely a 5 out of 5. I did have issues with it once a lot of action started in the film, and that it started to actually stutter and freeze. until I put UHD color on, and then that went away. So anybody that has that issue, you may want to try doing that if your television's capable of it. I have a Samsung television to go with a Samsung player. I'm running a Samsung K8500, so that is how I dealt with the issue. But definitely one of the first discs to own on 4K. And lastly, I have the Lego Movie here. Great movie. Double dip again. I already own this 3D version, and came with a little sort of plastic mask and all that. It looks phenomenal. Just with the black, the way it handles the black levels, and then the pop and the colors, and it's an amazing film, and it looks incredible in HDR. If you have kids, and even if you don't, it's definitely one of the discs also to pick up early. And I would give this a 5 out of 5. Now again, as I mentioned, I also have Sicario and Life of Pi on the way, and I've pre-ordered Deadpool and will be pre-ordering The Revenant. But just giving you a quick little overview of the discs I have and what I think. I would also, to rate the player, right now I'd say it's a 4 out of 5. Sound quality is amazing, picture quality is amazing. If you have an HDR capable TV, definitely worth picking up. But please remember, not all 4K television sets are created equal. Just because you buy a 4K set doesn't mean you're going to be capable of HDR. Lower end 4K sets are really just glorified upscalers. You spend a little bit more, you may be getting a set that has a HDMI 2.0 that will allow you to play native 4K through a player, but you're not going to be getting HDR unless you have nanocrystals or you have OLED TVs that are 2016 and older. The 2015 OLEDs have had a patch, but what they don't tell you is the patch only allows you to access HDR through streaming or through something plugged in through the USB. Through a 4K player through HDMI, you can't access HDR. What you may be able to do with this player, though, because it has digital bridge, you may be able to make a bit-by-bit copy of the film to a hard drive, for instance, and then plug that into the television set, and maybe you'll be able to get HDR that way. So be careful when you're shopping. Remember, some of these Best Buy people and the other store, salesmen don't have a clue what they're talking about. So do your research so you're not going to be disappointed. And you're going to have to spend more to get HDR. It's just the way it is right now. Wait for another 2 or 3 years and I think almost every set will have high dynamic range available, but that's not the case right now. Have a great night, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me a like, and I'll be watching.